What's up, fight fans, and welcome back to Ugly Truth Fight Picks. I am Ryan Jarrell, joined by Joseph Holmes. As always, we have another very special guest joining us this week to preview UFC London, and of course, is UFC strawweight Elise Reed. Elise, how are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
I'm fantastic. We're excited to have you on. And I just saw the other day your next fight announced, Cynthia Calvillo. I can't wait for that one. That's going to be an absolute firefight. I'm definitely going to have to get an interview with you prior to
Yes.
that fight. But for today, we'll stick to this card. Really exciting one, guys. UFC London. We'll start with the main event. Tom Aspinall, Marcin Tybura. Aspinall, a pretty sizable favorite, minus 475. Tybura, the dog, plus 375. Elise, you are our guest, so I want to start with you here. How do you see this main event shaking out?
So I like Tom Aspinall a lot. I saw him fight last time at UFC London, and I think he has the skills to put Marcin away. Honestly, I was looking at it. He just is a he's just a very smart fighter, and Marcin just looks like he's a brute that's just gonna walk forward. So I give it to Tom.
I think that's the safe bet. That's where I'm leaning too. Joseph, how do you feel?
Yeah, I'm definitely with Tom too. I think the UFC knows that this guy has some major star power, so they're, giving him some names. Tybura is not necessarily the fight I would have thought he'd have next because Tom's doing super duper well. But I think it's more so the name UFC's giving him to build his own name up. This is a guy that I expect to see fighting for a belt within the next 2 years or so. So yeah, going for Tom. I think maybe like a second round knockout, something like that. Maybe a TKO, but I definitely see Tom catching him and putting him away.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I don't think it's going to get out of the first round, guys. I think Aspinall finishes him and does it impressively. I was super disappointed. He had that injury against Curtis Blades, his last fight. That was all the way back in July of last year. So we're looking at a year out he's been. So I'm excited to see him back. And you're right. This is a guy that the UFC, I think, has pegged to be a future potential title challenger, and he's got the skill set to do it. So main event spot here for Tom Aspinall in London, so he's going to get the backing. It better not go to the judges, because if it does, Tybura is in big trouble. Your co-main event, Molly McCann, Julija Stoliarenko. Hopefully I said that somewhat right. We talked a little bit at least before we started here. Julia is the dog here, plus 165. Molly, Meatball McCann, the favorite, minus 190. Joseph, let me start with you here, man. Do you feel like the favorite, Molly McCann, is going to get her hand raised?
For sure. And then I also think that coming off that last loss against can't remember the girl's name. She just fought for like a title or something like that. But I think
Aaron,
that
yeah,
who was it?
Aaron Blanchfield. She just got
Yeah,
beat by Aaron.
Blanchfield. I think that's gonna put a chip on Molly's shoulder. And I expect to see her coming out with a lot of her wild spinning strikes and heavy bombs trying to catch Julia. So I got Molly for sure.
And Elise, I'm sure you know both of these ladies very, very well. They do fight a weight class above you, but again, you just there's not a whole lot of depth as far as the female division goes. So I'm sure you're very well versed as to who they both are. Do you feel like there's a chance that Molly loses this fight, or do you feel like Stoliarenko could spring a small upset?
I think this was such an interesting matchup for the UFC to make, and to put it as a co-main. I mean, I think I was looking at the card. They've got ranked, I believe, bantamweights on the prelim card, which is pretty crazy here with London. The Julia, she hasn't made 125 and has had a hard time at 135, fainting at the scales before. So I feel like, I was listening to some people and they're talking about Dana White privilege. And I think that this is a setup to give Molly a huge platform as a co-main, do it in spectacular fashion against Julia, especially given her weight issues. I mean, Julia is a better grappler from just what you're looking at in terms of a record, but it's fairly even. 10-8 is not a I mean, that's a 50-50 shot at best in terms of when she comes out with a win. So I think Molly takes it. I think this was a little bit of a gift, seeing as how dominant Aaron Blanchfield was against Molly last fight. So I love Molly. I love her tenacity and her ability to give some highlights. So I think this is going to be another highlight for Molly.
Yeah, I totally agree. Molly McCann and Patty Pimblett get the UK fans out of their minds. So when she's walking to the octagon, that the place is going to erupt. You're spot on, at least. This really is a co-main spot for her to shine. She gets a win. We'll see if she gets a little bit tougher of a test in her next fight out. But yeah, marquee co-main event right there in the women's 125. Nathaniel Wood, André Fili, guys, I'm really excited about this one. I very high on Nathaniel Wood, minus 190 as your favorite, but André Fili is a veteran. This guy's well-rounded. He's dangerous on the feet, plus 165 as your underdog. Joseph, where are you leaning on this one?
Man, so I don't know a lot about Wood, but I'm seeing that he goes to a lot of decisions, although these decisions are against some pretty tough guys. But basically all decisions. But Fili is a finisher. Fili's been around for a long time. He has a lot of experience. So I think I'm going to go for Fili just because I've seen him fight a lot more. Plus, he's iridium. But I don't know. If Fili doesn't take him out, it'll go to decision, and decisions have been in Wood's favor. So I think this is kind of more up in the air. I wouldn't bet on it if I was a bettor.
Okay, fair enough. Elise, where are you leaning?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a one. I love Fili and the way that he can finish, but I also have a lot of respect for Nathaniel Wood. I think he is now up a weight class, right? I think he came into a different weight class, so he's not cutting as much. I wouldn't bet. I mean, technically, I can't. I wouldn't bet on this fight either. I think it's going to be exactly what Joe's saying. It's either going to be Fili taking it out or Wood putting it together and slowly piecing it together. I'm gonna go with Wood, but I think it is a toss up. I think this is going to be a really exciting fight, and it'll definitely be a show.
Do you guys remember when Nathaniel Wood fought Charles Rosa a couple fights back?
I remember it happening because I think I was there. I think I was there fighting that same night, but I don't think I watched it. So,
well, let's see. Let's see if you were there. This would have been UFC Fight Night Blades versus Aspinall. So this was the fight.
I was there. I was at
Charles.
Oh yeah. Last loss. So, yeah, no, it wasn't him. But no, I don't think I've watched it. I've never watched Charles fight. I've just been there when he fought.
Okay. Well, let me tell you something. Nathaniel Wood, the performance that he put on against Charles Rosa was truly impressive. This guy can stand and trade. He's super durable. And if he needs to, he can wrestle. And I think that's going to be the difference in this fight. If Fili touches him up and has some success on the feet, I think you're going to immediately see Wood go to his wrestling pedigree and, win a decision that way. I don't know that he'll finish Fili, but I think he's got the overall skill set to at least get a UD win, which is what you were alluding to earlier, Joseph, about, he gets a lot of decision victories. So very skilled fighter. This is in his backyard. So this is someone that, the UFC is looking to push here against a veteran in Fili. Paul Craig, Andre Muniz. This is another one. I'm so excited for this fight. Muniz, after losing most recently to Brendan Allen, wants to get back in the W column. He's a pretty sizable favorite, minus 220. Paul Craig, plus 185 as your dog. Elise, I keep going back and forth on this one. Where's your head at?
So I know Paul Craig is from the UK or is going to have the backing here at UFC London. I don't like how he fights. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't care how good you are, and this is just my bias. If you go to your back all the time to try to get a crazy submission, I hate it. So I'm going to go with the other guy. I'm going to go with Andre Muniz. I think Paul Craig I think the UFC has grown so much to where, I'm finding the same thing where you have one thing that you're really good at, somebody's going to shut it down, and then you're not going to be evolving with the time, so to speak. So, yeah, I go with Andre because I don't like Paul. I don't like the way he fights. I'm sure he's a great guy, but not a fan.
You were saying the same thing, Joseph, right?
Yeah, I was literally about to say the exact same thing. I'm not a fan of Paul Craig at all. Yeah, he just reminds me of like a modern day the Brazilian guy who's just always grappled. I can't think of his name right now, but
Who
no,
was it? Crohn's. One of the Gracie guys just fought, and he did the same thing where he didn't do any strikes. It's not an entertaining fight. You're there to fight. You're there to throw down.
Like Ryan Hall.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
yeah,
Sorry, Joe.
like, oh, he does a lot of like out of nowhere kicks, and he's willing to trade a little bit, but yeah, like right, oh, like Hooper was back in the day, but I like Hoop now. He throws hands now.
All right, so you're both going with Muniz. I'm not mad
But
at that either. I feel like that's probably the safer bet here because, as you both alluded to, Craig's a little wild. He's a little unorthodox, and Muniz, if I'm not mistaken, he's a very very high level black belt on the ground. His jiu-jitsu is one of the best in the division. So if Craig is going to play that game off his back, that's a dangerous game to play with someone as high level as Muniz.
yeah, I'd hate to see a grappling match. I'd hate to watch them. Somebody just pull guard, and they're like,
Well, this is definitely a great fight for the main card. And, with Paul Craig being from that general area, he's going to get a huge pop when he walks to the cage. Jai Herbert and Fares Ziam is a lightweight bout that is up next. Jai Herbert is the dog, plus 135. Ziam, minus 155. Elise, do you feel like one of these fighters is going to really kind of show out here, or is this going to be a close fight?
I mean, so I guess looking at the stats, look, Jai can finish people pretty quickly. He's at 82% KO TKO rate. Everything else seems about the same though. Their significant strikes, their accuracy, their landed per minute. So I mean, I'm surprised that he's a dog. I'm not really. I mean, I'm always a dog too, so it is what it is. But I think I'd go with Jai just because he's from the UK, from England. London card, I mean, they're insane. The atmosphere in there is insane, and even if it's a little bit close, I think the crowd will help them a little bit to kind of get a little gusto, kind of. But I think this is going to be a close one. Wouldn't
Yeah,
bet on it, but I'd be Jai. I'll say Jai.
I agree too. I think this is going to be a very close fight. Joseph, what are your thoughts?
I think I kind of actually like Faraz. I haven't seen him fight too much, but he's a long, thin guy, like long and lanky, kind of like me, and he throws a lot of long strikes as well. He also had some like submission finishes, right? Yeah, he has like a guillotine choke, rear naked choke. He has a couple like submission finishes, and then Jai has lost recently to different submissions, so. I think I'd go for the upset with Faraz. You did say he's the underdog, right? I think Faraz can make this upset here, honestly.
Yeah, Faraz is actually the favorite, minus
Oh,
155. Herbert's
yeah.
the dog, plus 135.
Yeah, I think I'd go with Faraz here, being a little bit more well-rounded, having wins, more wins in different ways. Whereas Jai, he's obviously coming in like a brawler type, with not the best game. So, yeah, I think I'd go for Faraz.
Okay. Well, that's going to be an interesting fight. Another fight, guys, that I'm staying away from a betting aspect. And I know, Elise, you can't bet. You're on the UFC roster, so this is a no-no for you. But you can talk about who's going to win and who's going to lose.
Oh yeah.
Josh
Culibao and Lerone Murphy. Murphy minus 130, Culibao plus 110. I just keep going back and forth. I can't make up my mind on this one. Do you have any thoughts, Elise?
I love Josh. I like Josh. I like Josh a lot. I think he was on the Perth card. He has a lot of skill, a lot of patience. Obviously he's a good guy too. I think I exchanged some words with him, but I think it's gonna be Josh. I think he's the last fight with Perth. He had the guy in his face, a lot of obviously hype, a lot of tension, and he ended up finishing it. I want to say in the first or second round. So I think this is going to be a great fight. Just looking at the stats and their records, I think it's going to be a great fight. I think that's probably why the UFC set it up. But I think Josh is more than capable stepping up and stealing the thunder a little bit from Lerone.
Okay. Joseph, Josh Culibao, his record is 11-1-1. On the other side, Murphy, this is an undefeated guy. He's 12-0-1. I know how you feel about undefeated fighters. Are you differing from Elise here?
Man, I wanted to. Lerone definitely looks like the more aggressive fighter. The guy, kind of the one looking for the finish a lot more, where Josh kind of seems more so the guy to kind of like, just go with the flow with the fight, and not necessarily look for a finish, but not look for a finish. I like Josh. He's on a tear too. But man, that zero, that zero adds a little bit more hunger to a fighter, like especially in the UFC when you keep your zero, every fight you can keep your zero, you're probably getting another, extra 500 or, extra something added. So I think I'll go with Lerone for the upset. I think he's aggressive, and he hits hard, and I think that he can take Josh out. But I do like Josh and that big old smile, man. That big smile, I love it.
All right. Well, this will be another interesting one. Just technically, Murphy is still the favorite, -130. So Culibao is the dog, so +110. If Murphy does win, it's a small favorite. This is close, but those are the odds as of right now. That obviously could change. This next fight, guys, is another one that I have circled. Undefeated fighter Daniel Marcos taking on Davey Grant, who we know is from that area. He's a scrappy fighter. He likes to get in there and throw down. Grant +120 right now, Marcos -140. And Grant said leading up to this fight that he the only person that could beat him in his hometown in front of his sons that will be in attendance watching this fight is a very, very special fighter. Joseph, do you think that Marcos is that special of a fighter to come in here, keep his undefeated record intact, and hand Davey Grant a big loss here?
Oh, absolutely. Oh yeah, Marcos is about business. He's about to come in and handle kid, but I don't think it'll be a boring fight. I think we're gonna get some fireworks, some huge fireworks, because Grant obviously has that chip on his shoulder. He's home. You know what I mean? He has, like you said, his son's in the stands. So I think there's potential fight of the night, but I got my man Marcos.
Okay. No, Elise, Davey Grant's won 2 in a row now. Will he make it 3, or are you going with Marcos to stay undefeated?
I'm gonna go with Joey. I'm gonna go with Marcos. I think he's gonna have more than enough to give Davey, and as much as he's got a lot to fight for, obviously, we were mentioning the London card, and he's from that area. The crowd's gonna go crazy. The crowd also tends to be quiet when somebody else is getting overwhelmed. So I think it's gonna be Daniel. I think he's gonna have too much skill to kind of give Davey, and unfortunately, him fighting for his sons in his card won't be enough here. I don't think so. I think it's gonna be Daniel.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I'm in agreement. I'm in agreement with the both of you. Daniel Marcos, he's down in South Florida training with Charles Rosa. I talked to Rosa a little while ago, and he was very, very high just on how good this kid is. I mean, undefeated for a reason. This really could be a showcase fight for him to kind of be like his coming out party to the MMA masses. But really, really excited for that fight, guys. Danny Roberts, Jonny Parsons. That's a welterweight bout. This is very, very close. It's a borderline to pick 'em, but right now Roberts -118, Parsons -102. Elise, I'll start with you here on this one. Do you feel like one of these guys is better than the other, or is this kind of one of those fights where it's a coin flip?
I think it's probably a coin flip. I mean, in a debut against somebody from London at a London card, just a debut in general has a lot of emotion with it. And intensity, even if you don't plan it, and then obviously to be over the pond, so to speak, and fighting against somebody that's from there. I think it's gonna be Danny Roberts. I mean, just looking at his photo, I don't like Jonny Parsons and the half mullet thing going on. So I mean, even if I didn't know anything and I was, conventional, just watching fights to see people hit each other, I'd go with Danny just because I don't like the way Jonny looks. But I think as much as Danny's coming off a loss, I think he has so much more experience at this point than Jonny does. And I think, unfortunately, Jonny's going to learn the hard way the caliber of the UFC fighters.
Joseph, what are you feeling here?
I think potentially that could be the case, because UFC is another level, but as it shows, like Parsons has been fighting at another level also. He's been taking guys out. He had a great showing on his Contender Series show, like his recent show. So I think I'm still going with Danny Roberts, but I think this will be one of those moments where we see how good Parsons is. Like I don't think he's just gonna, get smoked. I think it's gonna be a good fight, and I think maybe after second round, when he feels this guy doesn't slow down or his strikes aren't, doing much, I think that's when he'll slow down. Maybe a decision, maybe a late finish.
All right.
By Danny.
I just love the fact that almost every single fight on this card, there's someone from the UK that's fighting. It's truly remarkable what the UFC does when they go to a certain area, that they make sure to stack it with fighters from that area. That's really fantastic. This next one, guys, Joel Alvarez and Marc Diakiese. I was a little surprised when I first saw the odds on this. I know a lot more about Diakiese than I do about Alvarez. Diakiese is the dog, plus 165. Joel Alvarez, minus 190. The last fight we saw from Joel Alvarez, he lost in the second round to Arman Tsoukakian. No shame in losing to Tsoukakian. That guy's an absolute beast. So he's been there with high-level competition. Do you feel, Joseph, that this fight he'll get back on track, or are you going the other way with the more veteran fighter, Diakiese?
I do like Diakiese. I think he's like a one-trick pony, though. Kind of like we were talking about with Paul Craig before, how he's, kind of one-dimensional. Diakiese's kind of like that too, in my opinion. He has flashy kicks, but not a whole lot more with that, in my opinion. So yeah, I'll be going with Alvarez. I think his showing with Arman was good enough to kind of like give him that push and show him how much better he needs to be. But Arman's way better than Diakiese, in my opinion. So I think this is going to be kind of like a cakewalk for him, unfortunately, because I do like Diakiese, but it's just one dimensional. I feel like it'd be easy to train for him and prepare for him.
Okay, at least you agree.
Yeah. Just looking at the stat. I mean, you look at Joel's Alvarez's finishes, and they're submissions, they're ground and pound. There's definitely a lot of color, so to speak, and skill that Joel comes with. I don't disagree. I like Marc as well, but I don't think he comes away with it. I think it's going to be Joel all day. Again, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, there's a reason why he's the favorite. So very well could be that you're both right here and Alvarez gets the win. Can't wait for this next one. That's the big boys heavyweight matchup between Mick Parkin and Jamal Pogues. Pogues is the favorite, minus 162 right now. Parkin plus 142, and this guy's undefeated. He's 6-0 and Parkin. Jamal Pogues a little bit more experienced, but he's 10-3. Joseph, do you feel like the undefeated fighter will stay undefeated, or are you going to go with the American here in Pogues?
That's hard because he has that 0. Never seen him fight. You know what I mean? I think I'm gonna go with Pogues I think the experience. I think he's been under the radar long enough, and he's having an opportunity right now, and I think he'll step up to the plate. Plus, he's American, so hey, I got Pogues.
Okay, fair enough. At least we've seen Pogues, Contender Series win, UD win. Then he had his UFC debut, another UD victory over Josh Parisian. Does he get it done again, or do you feel like the undefeated fighter is going to stay undefeated?
I mean, again, we were talking about the other debut, right? And it was from the other area. Now you got a debut that's from England on a UFC London card against somebody that isn't somebody to mess with. I mean, 10-3 is a solid record, and obviously we've seen him do plenty of wins in the UFC. So I feel like this is a tough one. I would lean towards Pogues, but I wouldn't be surprised if Parkin came up and just had so much adrenaline that he didn't matter what happened to him and just came out. You know what I mean? Like, Pogues, has had decision wins as a heavyweight. That's kind of somewhat hard to do unless you're standing there a long time and not exchanging. And if Mick wants to push the pace a little bit, maybe he tires Pogues out and finds his way to finish. But I don't know. We haven't seen him in the UFC. We don't really know too much in terms of how he can take that evolution. But I wouldn't be surprised if Mick comes away with it and just, enjoys the crowd and the experience.
Plus, I feel like a factor I didn't put into consideration is that he's on a gigantic stage for his debut. And it's already a lot on a fighter getting to the big stage in general, but to be on this massive stage and where you're from, you're representing your country or, whatever continent, I don't know, whatever. And I feel like that also could make or break him,
Yes.
Like Elise said, it could give him a huge adrenaline boost and he's just coming forward eating strikes, or it could drain him, and he gets out there flat-footed and slows. But either way, I wouldn't put any money on him just because I haven't seen him in this scenario yet. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, guys, this is one of the fights where if I was at the casino and I was putting together a nice little parlay, whichever way that I'm leaning, I would definitely throw one of these big boys in my parlay, because with it being heavyweights, the likelihood of it being a finish, it's high. So this would be one of those fights where I just kind of slide into a parlay with a couple of other fights that I'm very confident in, and just let the dice roll there. But yeah, heavyweight bout, those are always exciting. This next one will go down to middleweight. Bryan Barberena, Mahmoud Muradov. Muradov is a pretty sizable favorite, -350. Bryan Barberena, the dog, +285. And Barberena is one of those guys, as you both know, he's a veteran. He's gritty. He's going to get in there and throw down, try to make it into, a street fight, so to speak. Does he have the skill set to hang in there and maybe finish Mahmoud here? I don't think so, but at least, do you feel like the veteran Barberena could do it?
No, I don't.
Are y'all crazy?
He's shown that he's not good on the ground. He's lost a lot of submissions against the good people, Gunnar Nelson and Rafael dos Anjos, but then Robbie Lloyd. I mean, I don't know. I feel like when you're been in the game that long, it's either going to be a fantastic retirement, or it's going to be where you're going to start finding yourself to where now it's kind of time to bow out. And 2 losses in a row, I don't know. I would go with Mahmoud. I'd go with the favorite here on this one.
Joseph, are you going the other way?
Yeah, for sure, man. Barberena, man, he's going to come for it. And one thing I like about him is that he's like an all or nothing type of fighter. Like, he's not looking to go to a decision, and he's putting it all on the line. I don't see him losing this, man. I see him coming out and redeeming himself, because his last four at least fights were against top tier veteran fighters. You know what I mean? And he took out Robbie. He took out Matt Brown. Are you kidding me? Did we just see Robbie Lawler last week? I'm sure Barberena's going to have that in his mind too. Dude, I just took out this savage and this is what he did. And that's going to make him be more confident in his skills too. I don't see Barberena losing this fight. I think this is his time to turn it back around, and he could retire, but I don't think he's that old either. He's a veteran, but he's not that old.
Well, see, that was actually going to be one of the points that I make here, because he's 34 years old, and he's 18-10. But as you both know, not all records are equal. This is a guy that gets into wars. He's been in there, and he's been in a lot of hard fights. He's acquired a lot of damage. I feel like he's a fighter that, although his birth certificate says he's 34, he's actually older. And I wonder when the bottom is going to fall out.
I can see that. He's had a lot of wars, but we'll see. I'm going for Barberena.
You make a good point, Joseph. We shall see. I'm not a bettor. I don't bet. But you're right. I mean, he's obviously fought against the best, and that does make a huge difference in terms of the outcome. I'm gonna stick with my word, but
Okay.
You would be.
just because I'm not gonna go back on it. But I may have been persuaded.
Okay.
I've done it hundreds of times. Go back on it if you want, girl. I've done it.
All right, fine. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back. We're gonna go US. We're gonna go Brian. I want to see him.
There we go.
Knock the shit out of Muradov. All right, fair.
Yep. Okay. I just to be clear, I'd like to see Barbara Reina win, America all the way. But if I was around the both of you in person right now, I'd be trying to make side bets with you because I'm going Muradov all day. Barbara Reina's going down. We'll keep it moving, guys. Ketlen, Vieira, and Pani Kianzad is next. Elise, I want to start with you here on this one. Vieira, the favorite, -140. Pani +120. How do you see this fight going?
So this is something when I was looking at the card, I was surprised that they were so far down. I mean, this is a top 10 bantamweight, right? 7 and 4, or I guess 4 and 7. So I go Vieira. I feel like the bantamweight and the featherweight and all those divisions in the UFC in terms of female fighters, they're okay. I mean, I don't know if you watched, Lord help me, Chelsea Chandler, the last fight. I mean,
that was brutal.
Running away, she's never going to outlive that. She's never going to outlive that. Now it's on TV forever. And I think you take a look at who the caliber is in those divisions. I think it's a little different, but I go with the number 4. I think Vieira's going to take it. Sweden, she's close to home. Kianzad, but I go Vieira. I think she's going to be able to take it.
Yeah, I'm with you too. She had that hard fought split loss to Rocky Pennington. Most recently, she had some big wins over Holly Holm and Miesha Tate before that. Yeah. So this girl's legit. She's a well-rounded fighter. I think she gets back in the win column. Joseph, are you with us?
I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. No argument at all.
Okay, so that we're all on the same page right there, 3 for 3. So the world is right again. We'll keep it moving, guys. Chris Duncan and Yanal Ashmouz. Again, I wish where's John Anik when you need him. I probably butchering that, but we'll just go with Yanal +122. Chris Duncan, the favorite, -142. Elise, where are you leaning here on this one?
I think I'm going with Duncan. I think he's hometown. He's off some wins. He's got a little bit of the reach and the leg advantage, and the other guy hits a lot though. I think I'm gonna go with Duncan. I think this is gonna be a good striking battle. Obviously, you got the guy with the 0, so Joseph, we know where you are in terms of that. And he's good at takedowns for Ashmouz. I mean, I'm going to go Duncan, but I wouldn't be surprised if Ashmouz comes in, closes the distance, goes for takedowns, and secures his 8th victory in a row, undefeated.
All right. Yeah. As Elise said, undefeated fighter, Joseph. He's 7-0. Does he move to 8-0, or does Chris Duncan move to 11-1? Both of these guys, very, very good records. So, and Duncan, with that one loss, he has the more experience here. So does he get the win, or are you going with the undefeated fighter?
Honestly, I'm liking Chris in this fight. I'm thinking that he has the more high level experience. His only loss being in Contender Series, but we all know how tough it is to show up your first opportunity, and be that perfect fighter on your first chance in front of the boss man. So, but you see, after that happened, he's gotten better. He's having a lot of decisions, but he has an early finish on his second attempt with Contender. So he obviously did get better there. I think that I'll go with Chris. Both guys are fairly new to the UFC.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Chris will upset it. I know the other one's undefeated, but I was undefeated too, on the local scene. So it's just a different animal in the UFC. So I think I'm gonna go with Chris here. And you said he was the favorite though?
Yeah, Chris Duncan right now is the favorite, -142. Yanal Ashmouz +122.
So it's still a pick 'em, but yeah, I think I'll go with Chris here.
Yeah, definitely a close fight when it comes to the odds. Elise, this next one, this is your weight class right here.
Yeah.
I'm excited to get your take on this one. Bruna Brasil, Shauna Bannon. Bannon's undefeated. She's 5-0, but Bruna's got more experience, 8-3-1. As of right now, the odds are fairly close, but Brasil -150, Bannon +130. What do you think about this one?
I don't know. I don't know. I was actually watching, I guess Sean was talking on something with Molly McCann and I'm sure it was like a fight prep video. And she has a lot of pride that she is this far in her career, this young. I think she was saying that she's only been doing MMA 5 years and she's 5-0. It is obviously all Invicta and not necessarily the UFC. So like we've mentioned before, and most of her opponents were 3 fights or under, outside of that last one. So I would go the Brazilian. Um, Again, we talked about having, the debut in your home area and having all the crowd backing you. So she may, have like a shot of testosterone or steroids or something, walk into that cage and won't really matter, and she'll just be able to plow through them. But I think the experience does a lot, and I think there's, we've mentioned before, either going to be adrenaline dump or she's going to go in there like a bat out of hell. But I think the experience is I think it's going to trump a 5-0 record with not necessarily being able to see the caliber of UFC fighters quite yet. So I go with Brazil.
Okay.
Brasil.
When a matchup in your weight class takes place, how closely are you watching these fights?
I mean, I don't know. At this point in terms of my career, everybody just wants to take me down. So I don't think it really. I mean, I don't think it really matters. I think obviously someone that's on the rise, I take a little bit more notice to possibly get on their we'll say gravy train, Dana White privilege. But something you guys didn't know is this fight set up in September was originally supposed to be that girl that got finished in 20 seconds. So they had set her up before she had even finished that fight to go against me in September. And of course, all of a sudden, she doesn't want to do it anymore. She just got hit by a right. But I don't really watch him until there's a contract signed and I have to figure out how to beat him. I'm invested in this obviously because she's from Ireland and Molly McCann, and I've seen a little bit of her background, but outside of that, I'm not really too concerned.
Okay, fair enough. Joseph, are you leaning Bannon or Brasil here?
Yeah, I'm with Brazil here. Also, the experience is going to play a huge factor. Last loss I saw from Shauna, which I think it was during her amateur career or something, but it was home in her hometown. I think it was her last fight or so. Being on this huge stage, in your hometown, like I've seen in the past, that she hasn't showed up. So Brazil is probably not the opponent you want on your debut, and she got her. So I think we're potentially a good fight, but I think Brazil has it all the way.
All right. One more fight to go, guys. This will be kicking off the card. Daniel Barres, Jafel Filho. Right now, Jafel is your favorite, -120. Barres, the dog, +100. So pretty close odds here. Do either one of you have a thought on this fight as to who you feel like is going to get their hand raised? Joseph, you're nodding, so let me start with you.
Yeah, no, I've fought or either I've fought on the same card, like a Fury card with Daniel Barres, or I've been there coaching. But either way, I've seen this kid fight, and he's very scrappy. He's very good. He has a lot of combos. He mixes it up, body, head. I think he's very skilled. And he's been fighting on a pretty good promotion too for a while with Fury. Fury's getting up there. They're a huge feeder into the UFC. I came from Fury. A lot of other guys I know came from Fury. So yeah, I think Daniel has a good shot with this fight. And I don't know much about Filho, but you can see the records are very similar. So yeah, I think Daniel, this is his chance right here. I hope it's his chance. I'm rooting for him.
Elise, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Joseph. I think he's just shown to be. I mean, obviously the other guy's coming up with a lot of lot of experience as well, but I think it's going to be Filo. I think he's going to be able to. You always come back against a debut. It's like I don't know. I've fought one of them, and I always want to show up and show them what it's like to be here. And so I think Filo's going to have obviously coming off of a loss, getting a debut. It's kind of like his back is against the wall, and I think he's going to be able to take it away.
All right. Couple more things before we get out of here, guys. Your lock of the card. Mine's easy. I'm going Tom Aspinall to beat Marcin Tybura. I think that's a lock. The only way Aspinall loses this fight is if he gets injured again. And hopefully that's not going to happen for his sake. Elise, when you look at the card top to bottom, is there a fight you're most confident about?
So because we talked about it for so long, I'm going to go Muniz or André, just because Paul, if you're watching this, know that I'm sure you're a great guy, but I don't like the way you fight. So I'm gonna go André Muniz is gonna be my lock.
Joseph?
I was gonna pick Muniz too, but just so I'm not like being a follower, I think I'll go with Marcos. Daniel Marcos to beat Davey Grant in front of his kids. I'm gonna laugh right after it happens. But hey, I mean I get it. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think I'll go with Marcos and Muniz.
Okay. It'll just, if he does lose, it'll just teach his kids that, you know, you can't win everything, and it'll just make them tougher growing up, right?
Oh my.
Yeah.
Going to hell. We're going to hell, guys. It's fine. It is fine.
All right. One last thing before we do sign off here. Elise, again, Cynthia Calvillo, that's your next fight, September the 16th. Early prediction. I know we're still a little ways away, but when you look at this fight, how do you see it playing out?
Well, I mentioned it before. Nobody wants to strike with me. So she's going to wrestle. She obviously has a jiu-jitsu, a lot of grappling. She is coming down, or has recently came down to straw weight. So I'm always looking for a finish. So I'm gonna go second round, but I'm gonna say ground and pound. I think it's gonna get to the ground, and I'm gonna take it away from there.
Awesome. Well, we can't wait to see you back in action again, September the 16th. We really appreciate you joining us today. At least it was a lot of fun. You'll have to come back and do this another time down the line. Yeah.
Hopefully I don't get any like hate comments from all the people that put bets in and they all fucked up. But no, I appreciate it. Thank you guys. This is awesome.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan. I can't wait to watch you fight.
Well, thank you. Yeah, no, it's gonna be a good one. I'm telling you, we're making this right hand really strong. I'm eating a bunch, so I'm gonna come in there looking like a I don't know, like a train, like a bull. It's gonna be good.
You're amazing.
Again, can't wait to see you back in there, Elise. For Elise Reed, Joseph Holmes, I am Ryan Jarrell. We will see you guys next time.